Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday. Bit of a drab weekend here. I think this week in Calgary is the week everything is just gonna poof to life. We had some cold temperatures. We had a fair amount of moisture come in. And then the rest of this week is going to be warm, 16, 18 degree days, lots of sunlight. And I think this is when we're really going to feel like spring has sprung. We've seen the signs, we've seen the prairie crocus, we've seen the robins, et cetera, et cetera. We've certainly talked about it, but I think this week is going to be great. So fantastic days to get your annuals, your perennials, even some tree and shrubs out into the yard. Don't leave them out overnight. Overnight temperatures are still going to be cold. Bring them in, get them climatized. Again, gardening is not a sprint, it's a marathon, so take your time. Don't cause yourself undue anxiety and lose the plants. And speaking of that, I want to talk about houseplants, hence why I'm surrounded by houseplants, including this wasabi. We have a wasabi plant. That is so rad. I've never seen one before. I don't think this is the first time we've had them in. I think it's just the first time I've ever seen one. And I think I like the leaf. I like that it's kind of unruly and it's standing up and it's falling over too. And I just think that that's pretty rad. And it is indeed edible. I don't know anything about it, but it says on the back, the trunk of the wasabi plant is used to make wasabi paste by grating it. That's great. Woo! Wasabi paste is widely used in Japanese cuisine. So there you go. We have a wasabi plant. But we spoke in the autumn about what you do with your house plants over the winter, about how they tend to go dormant. You may need to move them where it was getting enough light in the summer. It doesn't get enough light in the winter. Maybe it's a drafty window. I've got a few of them in my house. You don't want your plant there. And now, as the weather is turning again, I've noticed on some of my house plants, they need some work. They need to be looked after. We're seeing new growth coming out, some blooms, and that kind of stuff. So, what can we do to encourage our house plants? Because Brandy and I were just talking about it, and I was saying, we have an 8-foot ficus at home, and it's beautiful. It's nice and full, beautiful green leaves, but it needs some help. The thing is, I can't do it inside. It's too messy. It's too big. If I desperately had to, I could. I guess I don't want to do it inside because of everything it entails. So I'm waiting for these beautiful 18-degree days. Let it heat up nicely. And at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I want to get out into a shady area. I want to lift it out of the pot and get it in a new pot. Get a nice big, 20-inch pot, 24-inch pot with some fresh soil and bring it back because there is new growth on it. But I know the soil in there is tired, and I've done everything I can with amendments and fertilizers. It needs a fresh soil. So now is the time when our house plants are waking up. And you may find now it's time to start moving it around. And you're gonna have your shade lovers. I think anybody who knows a shade plant knows this. This is a Sansevieria. Okay, lower it down. There we go. I'm like doing my Lion King. And everybody knows these. They love the shade. Okay, but they do need a bit of sun. Maybe you moved it. Maybe now it's going to get too much sun. Same with a fern, like the maidenhair fern. Okay, these guys don't want to be blasted with sun. They do need light, but they don't want to be hit directly. So these guys, you might have to move again. Then other plants, now that we're not getting, minus 40s and wind chills of minus 50, maybe they can go back to those draftier windows. They can go back out into a sunroom, into a solarium, where maybe it's not insulated, but it stays warm enough to keep them out there. And then we can look at taking ones like your citrus trees. So this is a lime tree. this will produce limes, and these are amazing for use with drinks, summer drinks, fantastic. Also Mexican food, with your salsas and your tacos and things like that. And they will produce limes, absolutely. And we even have olive trees, okay? And it's still early yet. Again, we're talking about the whole season. Maybe it's time to start finding a place for these guys on your deck or on your balcony where they can really get the sun, they can get the wind through them. But very importantly, especially for your citrus plants, is the pollination. So we used to have an orange tree, and I believe it was 4 years old. And every year we'd put it outside in the summer, and the bees loved it. The smell, the fragrance. And then every winter, it would produce incredible little oranges, tiny little oranges, really, really sour. Again, great if you wanted to put them in a smoothie or augmented drink or something like that. A really tart, sour flavor, but also really, really cool to have like a bright orange, real orange growing in your house. And then we got a puppy and he decided to eat it. Thanks, Jimmy. Came in one day, knocked over, and Jimmy had chewed all the bark off, and the roots had been sitting there baking in full sun. So the joys of a puppy. I've never bothered replacing it. You know what? I really should. I know Harry loved it as well. So it is time where we start looking, or at least I do. Now I move my house plants around and I start planning. Do they need to be upscaled in their pots? Maybe some have gotten root bound and you haven't had a chance to do it. Maybe you're waiting so you can buy a big bag of potting soil, you can plant up your annuals and do some transplanting with your house plants. But whatever the case might be, they are going to need a bit of TLC. They're waking up from dormancy, and I don't know why. I honestly don't. Nothing was really that different. In fact, all in, it was a mild winter. We did have a cold snap in February, sorry. But December was really mild. January was a January, and March was really mild. But my house plants really took a hammering. And I augment with lights. I've got plant lights all over my house. And I augmented with that, and a lot of them. My fiddly fig, for one. Oh my gosh. It's not looking good, to the point where, Jenny was like, oh my God, is it going to make it? But you know what? It's putting out new growth. It's got new leaves coming out the stems. The middle is sending out new spikes coming out. My rubber tree is coming back with spikes. So it was a really hard winter. But finally I'm seeing some growth. So I want to get these all out, and I want to get them transplanted, and I want to put some fresh soil and fresh amendments. And when you're doing it, for the most part, and I should have grabbed some soils to show you guys, but look for the correct soil. So, if you're doing your African violets, we have an African violet soil, and we also have an African violet fertilizer. And it is important to use the right one. Yeah, you can get away with it. Absolutely. That can go in a potting soil or a succulent soil, but you really have to keep an eye out on your watering them, because the soil absorption is going to be different. So you can kind of cheat, but if you can, use the right soil for the right plant. And when in doubt, if you're really not sure, you don't know what to do, you get something like this. You can always use a tropical soil mix, okay? That's the one I recommend, or a houseplant soil mix, which we have coming in really soon. We don't have it in yet. I'm excited to get that in. And then when it comes to your succulents, okay, use a cactus fertilizer. Okay, I believe, does this say, yep. So I'll bring it up to the camera, and it says cactus, jade, aloe, and other succulents. There's also a cactus up. And here we've got a cactus. Oh, this feels light, it needs water. Psych, it does not. It's meant to be light. That was a test. But these guys are gonna start doing amazing. Cactus completely dormant, didn't see anything. And over the last couple of weeks, it's been getting way more sun. It's actually in Jenny's office, gets all the east sun through one window, and then all the late afternoon sun. And that late afternoon sun is really helping it out. And we're starting to see a tiny bit of new growth on the top. Very slow to grow as they are. succulents are starting to thrive in various windows. So I'm getting ready to move, but I'm also now getting ready to fertilize. So I touched on that in the autumn, if you guys saw the episode. And what I mentioned is don't fertilize your houseplants. Now, a houseplant doesn't go dormant like a perennial. Last week we discussed perennials, or a tree or a shrub, where they drop all their leaves and they just stand there frozen. Or a perennial, everything just goes brown, it falls to the ground, you cut it back. Your houseplant will look like this all year long. There's a good chance it's not doing anything or not doing much. It slows down a lot. It does need a rest. Fertilizing it, what you can do is you can try and force it to grow, which it's not ready to do. Or the other thing is you can actually start clogging up the soil. It's not drinking up the same amount of fertilizer. I don't know if you guys have ever realized, I know I have, in the summer, I have to water my houseplants 2 to 3 times a week. In the winter, I normally do it every Sunday. Now, depending on where they are, there are some I have to water more because they're right next to a forced air vent, which dries the soil out more. So that's a environmental concern. But for the actual plant, it's not uptaking as much water because it's not actively trying to grow. So you may notice that. And that's a great thing I love about these fertilizers. All-purpose, in case, again, you don't know. So we got our all-purposes here, and then we've got specific ones here. And they're water soluble, so it's great. You can get, 2 birds, 1 stone. You're watering them and you're fertilizing them. Do not over-fertilize, just like any plant. Follow the recommendations on the back, easy directions. Make sure you follow them and give your plants what they need. Move them to the sun or to the shade or put them outside, wherever it's accordingly. But always, always play to your environment. If it's going to be 18 degrees, great. Stick your olive tree out for a day. Get them out there, get them into the sun. But the moment that sun starts going down or that wind picks up, get ready to bring it back inside. We're still a good month, 6 weeks away from being able to leave them outside. Keep an eye on the weather. Let it tell you. Stay tuned. The rest of this week, we're still going to be talking all about houseplants. This is just what your houseplants are doing in the spring right now. We'll recap on things and we'll keep talking about it. Thanks everybody for tuning in to our webinar. We had people tuning in from Washington. Love to see it. We don't care if you're from Calgary. We just want to see you guys tune in. Keep an eye out for more. We have tons of good stuff and we'll be showcasing new fun stuff like the wasabi. Have a wonderful Monday. Enjoy the sun. Enjoy your day. We'll see you all tomorrow. Okay, bye everyone.